What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be talking about, as always, at the end of the month, it's been a bit about a week, I should have done it a long time ago. What have I watched in May? Let's get to the intro. So, in May, I watched quite a lot of stuff, mates. First film I watched was a film I used to kind of not remember much, right? A film called Kroll from the 80s. It's like a kind of weird fantasy adventure film that I really enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun, a lot of really interesting concepts. It's almost like a medieval fantasy movie, like swords and boards, but like kind of trying to take a little bit of Star Wars with it. Really enjoyed it. I thought it was a lot of fun. All the characters are really likable in it, and yeah, it's just a really good time. If you're looking for that kind of 80s cheesy 80s adventure fantasy movie, I think Kroll is a really good pick. I think a lot of people will enjoy it. I did. It's got a really young Liam Neeson in it, which is good. I like to see, because Liam Neeson's he can't do no wrong in my opinion. I love Liam Neeson. But yeah, Kroll, really fun adventure movie. Really cool creature designs and just cool ideas. They've got these, what I call them, Kroll stormtroopers, because they're basically stormtroopers in this movie. And when they die, they have this horrific scream that is quite horrible to hear throughout the film, because it's a really horrible scream. They sound like they're in like the worst pain imaginable. So yeah, that's Kroll. I think Kroll's really fun, really enjoyable. I think you would like it if you're into your fantasy adventure films. I think it's maybe sort of a must watch. I think it's really good.
One eternity later.
Fuck's sake, who's calling me? Alright, mate?
Alright, Jason, mate. I realise that after 6 years, you've finally discovered your TV's actually 4K. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I feel like a bit of an idiot, but 4K TV, man, it's pretty cool. Like, I'm pretty happy that I don't have to buy a new TV.
Yeah, flaming numpty, man. Anyway, I know Pacific Rim's not bad on it, so why don't I send this to you, and then you can have a watch in it, and then you can tell us exactly what you think of it.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, send it over.
Okay, I'm just going to pop it through now. Hang on here. Here we go. You got it?
Got it. Thanks for that. I'll give it a go.
Great. Right, I'll see you next time.
Bye. See you later. Bye. No, you hang up, for fuck's sake. Yeah, okay, yeah. Alright, bye. Fucking hell. Pacific Rim 4K.
2 hours later.
So, yes. Pacific Rim 4K. So yeah, I watched Pacific Rim in 4K. It was my first 4K experience. And mate, I'm just going to speak about just the 4K element. Like the picture was pristine quality. What they've done with the color grading to make the nighttime scenes actually viewable, because one of the biggest criticisms for Pacific Rim when it came out, I remember people saying all the fights are at night, and also the night scenes are quite difficult to see what's going on. All corrected here, big time. I think this film's never looked as good as it has. The 4K HDR has just done wonders for this movie, and I think it is one of the better 4Ks that I've watched since then. I think it's still one of the better 4K releases. I think it looks absolute pristine. As for the film, it's monsters and robots beating the shit out of each other. I love it. I think it's great. It's almost like if you're a fan of anime, you should know Neon Genesis Evangelion. Pacific Rim for me is the closest thing we will get to an Evangelion live action movie. A lot of the concepts in Pacific Rim are very similar, where you've got to your brain has got to be kind of linked with the Jaeger in this. but you get my point. Like, it's got very similar concepts. But yeah, I love this movie. I think it's great. I think the monster designs are just really, really inventive. Using a boat as a sword, just that scene in particular is pretty epic. Love it. Love this movie, and seeing it in 4K was an absolute treat for the eyes. It looked absolutely beautiful. Loved it. Yeah, loved it. Absolutely loved it. So we're moving on. I'm watching another film that I already love in 4K, which is Godzilla 2014. I absolutely adore this movie. I've regurgitated this over and over. That for me, it's a perfect monster movie. It's 10 out of 10. I think the pacing is absolutely just pitch perfect. I like where you're waiting for Godzilla to make his appearance, and there's a lot of, if that hour where he's not in the film until they reveal him, I still think it's a very entertaining hour, and I don't think there's no part of Godzilla 2014 that I think actually lulls. I think the film is very well paced, very entertaining, very engaging, and I think the human aspect is fine. The only criticism I have with this movie is that Bryan Cranston should have been the lead throughout the whole movie. But aside from that, you're with his son, and I think his story, all he wants to do is get to his wife and kid, and you sympathise for that. I think it works. I'm following this guy trying to get there, and I just think it's a great. I think it's one of the better human elements to a monster movie. And yeah, like I said, Godzilla 2014 is a perfect monster movie. As for the 4K, the 4K for this film completely transformed this movie into an absolute masterpiece of a movie experience for me. Like I said with the Pacific Rim, the color grading just has done wonders. The HDR has done wonders for this movie. It looks crisp, it looks vibrant. The nighttime scenes look beautiful. You can see what's going on. Yeah, it's the 4K is the way to watch this movie from now on. I can't imagine to watch this film in any other way than 4K. It's just the best. So yeah, Godzilla 2014 is outstanding. I moved on with my MonsterVerse binge. I put on Kong Skull Island. This was the first time me watching this film all the way through. I never actually got to see it all the way through. This was the first time. I watched bits of it, but I've not actually seen it all the way through. This was the first time. Now, what blew me away about watching this movie is I watched it on Blu-ray through my 4K player and my 4K TV, and it upscaled it. And no word of a lie, guys, the upscale for this film on Blu-ray was unbelievable. To the point where I feel like my eyes were tricking me to think that it looked better than the 2 4Ks that I watched previously. Which I'm sure if I actually went into detail on those, it wouldn't look as good. But my eyes was telling me this looks unbelievable, this looks amazing. I've got it on 4K since, so I'm guessing that it's going to look even better. The HDR is going to make those colours pop even more, which I think is kind of impossible because colours popped in on the upscale so well anyway. But anyway, Kong Skull Island, it's another just outstanding monster movie. I think it's just perfection, 10 out of 10. Like, I just genuinely, I really think it's just outstanding. I think it's crazy these MonsterVerse films, especially Godzilla 2014 and Kong Skull Island in particular, can deliver pitch perfect monster movies from the West. It's unbelievable, and I think it's great that we've got this almost perfect quadrilogy of MonsterVerse movies. And I don't have an issue with any of them. I think they're all great. But yeah, Kong Skull Island is absolutely fantastic. I was surprised by the all-star cast. You've got a lot of familiar faces in this movie. They all do wonderful jobs in their roles. Kong looks unbelievably good in CGI. And yeah, I just think this film's just start to finish just unbelievably fun and entertaining. And I just love every second of it. I thought it was fantastic. Moving on onto a pretty shite movie. I watched a film called Dragon War. Utter shite. Monster movie. A really convoluted storyline about an ancient war between two sides in like ancient kind of eastern territories. And when these people die, they become these spirits that can come back, and they can basically, it's about some evil force coming back and they can manifest into dragons or the like. So it's a bit weird. Doesn't really make sense. I didn't think the story was very engaging. I thought the acting was pretty bad. The CG was pretty fucking awful. Yeah, this film is a hard skip. I wouldn't recommend watching this. I don't want to put anyone off. If you want to go and see this movie, you can, obviously. But I just thought it was utter dog shit. Really bad. Just incoherent, bad acting, and just a really shit film. So go in with that, with what you will. Yeah, so we continue our Monsterverse binge with Godzilla King of the Monsters. Godzilla King of the Monsters for me is half of it I love, half of it I don't. And I think it is the weakest in the Monsterverse for me. Out of the 4 movies, it is the weakest for me. I think the Godzilla action is fantastic. The fact that we get to see King Ghidorah on the big screen in all his scary glory is amazing. And it's got tons of Easter eggs for fans of the Japanese films that in the cinema I was losing my absolute mind, because I was like, I know what that is. Oh my god. And there's a bit at the end where I literally lose my mind in the cinema, because he becomes Burning Godzilla, and Burning Godzilla is my favourite Godzilla design. Holy shit. So all the check marks were in with this film. Great Easter eggs for the Japanese movies. Godzilla is awesome. King Ghidorah is awesome. Mothra looks awesome. Rodan is definitely awesome. The fights were cool. The set pieces were big and grandiose and crazy. But then we get to the human stuff, which I don't give an absolute shit about. The human stuff really bogs down this movie, where it's kind of a hard it's a hard film to rewatch, because the film, whereas Godzilla 2014 had a really great pacing, and I generally cared about the human character in this, in that, and how he was just trying to get back to his family. It made sense. Godzilla King of the Monsters, you get bogged down by all this absolute bollocks with this family that are somehow tied to this machine. They created this machine that can call out the Titans in this film, and I don't know what it is, but it really affects the pacing for me. The pacing is all over the place, and I think this film drags because of it. And when I say you're bogged down, you really are. When the film starts to get good, it kind of cuts back to this family bollocks, and them trying to like get the orca back and all this nonsense. That's the thing. It just kills the movie in a big way when you're trying to rewatch it. You know, I still really enjoyed the film. Don't get me wrong. Like I said, this film is in 2 halves for me. I love it and I hate it. All the Godzilla monster element of the film is outstanding. The whole narrative part with the humans is just the worst part of the film, and I feel that I don't think you're going to be able to correct it. I don't think it's going to get better over time. You know, I've seen this film about 4 times at this point, and yeah, it really bogs the film down. Even when I was thinking about rewatching this for the month of May, just to binge watch the films. Yeah, Godzilla King of the Monsters, it just like, just thinking about it, I was just like, I don't really want to rewatch this movie, because I know how much of a slog it is to get through because of the human elements, and it's unfortunate, but there you go. That's my opinion. It's still epic when he turns up as Burning Godzilla at the end. I literally still get goosebumps at that moment. It is so epic. But yeah, definitely the weakest in the franchise for me in terms of the Monsterverse franchise. Not the weakest in the Godzilla franchise, but when it concerns the 4 Monsterverse movies, it is the weakest in my opinion. Moving on to another monster film, but this one's not in the Monsterverse. This one is a great, underrated 80s gem. I watched Critters, a film that I've probably watched the most at this point, and I love this film 2 pieces. It's one of those comfort films where I can put it on and just enjoy it. No matter what mood I'm in, I can just enjoy this film. I think it's woefully underrated. The Critter, one of my favourite movie monsters of all time, up there with Godzilla. Like, I love the Critters. I think they're great fun, and I think they're a great design. You know, basically, if piranhas evolved into space-faring mammals, that's what the Critters are, and they're pretty cool. I think they're great design. This first movie, like I say, is a comfort film for me. It's a film I can watch over and over again, and I have definitely watched it over and over again. Yeah, it's just such a great movie. I think it's got it's a creature feature kind of first almost, but I feel people forget that it's got a great sci-fi element, and that's what I love about this film, is that the sci-fi element is there, and it is a really great kind of concept for the idea that these Krites, they're intelligent. They were put into prison, they escaped, they stole a ship, then made their way to Earth. I think that's a really cool concept for a creature feature. Very different to the likes of like Ghoulies and Gremlins. Very different. And I prefer this film to Gremlins in a big way. I think I just enjoy Critters more. I just think everyone should check out Critters. I think it's a good time. Funny fact, my cousin Mark, one of my best friends in the world, he rewatched Critters recently and he really liked it, so that tells you something there. Yeah, Critters, love it, absolutely awesome, a great comfort movie for me, and it's probably the film in my collection that I've watched the most, which says everything you need to know about Critters. Next up, I put on a film I hadn't watched since February 2020. It was the only film I think I saw in February 2020, which was Sonic the Hedgehog. Now I'm so glad that they corrected the horrific nightmare feel that was the original trailer's Sonic, because that Sonic design was horrific. But they listened to the fans and they changed that bitch, and I'm really happy about it. This film is a lot of fun. Sure, it's a kids film. I have no doubt that it's straight up a kids movie, but I had a lot of fun with this movie. Being Sonic the Hedgehog being one of the very first video games I ever played, I've always got a soft spot for Sonic the Hedgehog. No matter how bad the games could get, I still have this soft spot. I still had this kind of allure to Sonic the Hedgehog, because it's just nostalgia, man. Like, I just loved the video games as a kid, and seeing the film come out and be this good, which is surprising, to be this fun and this entertaining, I was so happy about it. And the fact that it just killed it at the box office when it came out, it made over 100 million. I was so happy about that. I was like, of all the video game movies to be a massive success, I'm so happy it's Sonic the Hedgehog. I really am, and I'm really looking forward to the sequel, because I think I just think it's ripe. It's got so much lore and more. You can explore the world of Sonic the Hedgehog big time. It doesn't have to be on Earth. It doesn't have to be on Earth and in the US like the film is. But hopefully they're moving away from that and they're taking us into more of the other dimensions that it teased in this movie. But yeah, Sonic the Hedgehog I think is a lot of fun. I don't really have much bad to say about it, aside from it being on Earth, which is a bit of a cop-out for these Hollywood adaptations of video game movies. But yeah, I think it's really good. I think everyone should watch it. If you've got kids, I think they'll have a blast. It doesn't insult your intelligence like some kids' movies do. I'm looking at you, Smurfs. That's right, I'm looking at you, you absolute slag. Anyway, yeah, I just think it's really great, and I just think adults and kids alike can have a lot of fun with Sonic the Hedgehog. And Jim Carrey is the big saving grace for this film. Not that the film needs saving, but I think without Jim Carrey, this film would be weaker for it. So yeah, saying that, Jim Carrey is back to form in this film, and he's probably one of the best parts of the movie. And I'm looking forward to seeing him return in the sequel. Sonic the Hedgehog is definitely worth a watch, guys. Honestly, I love it. Next up, I watched Thor for the first time, funny enough, on 4K. Yeah, it's weird because I enjoyed this film. I enjoyed it for what it was, but I feel like I've seen these story beats kind of be told before in other mediums. and in other films. I feel like it's very much fish out of water character, meet someone, they build a romance there, but the people that are in his world are kind of like, there's a bit of a weird kind of like betrayal element, and then he gets the power back to go back there and save everyone. I think it's been done to death. However, one of my friends was saying that it's been done to death because Thor came out in like the 30s, I think, or something like that, or the 40s, and all the 60s. I could be wrong. Whenever Thor the comic came out, my friend was saying that you've seen it done to death is because apparently Thor created that kind of story element, those story beats. Don't know how true that is, but that's what I've been told. But yeah, I did feel that I've seen this story being told a million times before in very similar story beats, so it felt very familiar for me. I enjoyed it for what it was. I don't think it's like incredible or anything like that. I think it's a serviceable, family comic book movie. I think it's fun. But yeah, not quite as good as Ragnarok. I still think Ragnarok is bloody 9 out of 10 awesome. I've not seen Thor 2, but I've heard I don't need to watch Thor 2, which is good. But yeah, Thor on 4K looked alright. It wasn't the best 4K. I think Godzilla 2014 and Pacific Rim looked better. But yeah, as a film, I enjoyed it for what it was. I don't think it's amazing. I think it's pretty much serviceable. Would I recommend it? If you've not seen it before, I think it's worth a watch. I think it's decent. But if would I say rewatch it? I don't know. It was alright, guys. It was alright. Moving on to some really weird film that I kind of enjoyed, but I still feel like the trailer made it look better than it was. Psycho Goreman is the next film I watched. It's just like a crazy, high concept, low budget, I don't know, like exploitation grindhouse movie that is a lot of fun, and it's really like this. There's some bits that just made me laugh out loud in this film. However, I feel the trailer, when I saw the trailer, I was like, I'm all for this movie. This it sounds like a film made for me, because this is the kind of stuff that I like. It's got the kind of over the top concepts and gore elements to it, and also it's got the humour in there as well. I thought, this film's made for me. This looks awesome. And as a film, it's fun, but don't take this anywhere else. Do you know what I mean? Like, I feel like leave it one and done. You really don't need to take this into sequel territory. I'm a bit torn on this film because, like I said, the trailer made it look really, really good, but when you watch the whole movie, I was sort of deflated by it, but I still kind of had a lot of fun as well. So take that as you will. It's really violent. The comedy is really, really funny. You've got this little girl in it who's the main girl character, and she is a horrible bitch in the film. In the whole film, she's a horrible piece of work, but she is the biggest, laugh out loud part of the film. She's where all the comedy is. And I think, I don't really go and rate much on kid actors, but I think she's one of the best child actors I've seen in a very, very long time. If you want over-the-top, ridiculous costumes, a la Power Rangers, loads of gore, two kids who inherit a demon, this demon character that they can control, and they go on some crazy shenanigans. If you want something like that, if that sounds good to you, then this film might be for you. I enjoyed it, but I feel like it wasn't what I wanted, if that makes sense. The trailer made it look like it was going to be something completely different than it was. I feel a bit deflated a little bit, but I still enjoyed it. Would I get a Blu-ray if it was Region B, if I can get a Region B Blu-ray? Yeah, I would. I would definitely get a Region B Blu-ray if I could. But I don't have a Region A player, unfortunately. But yeah, Psycho Goreman, it's a lot of fun. Don't get me wrong, it's a lot of fun. But I feel like if you've seen the trailer, you've basically seen a lot of the big funny moments, like most trailers do with these kind of movies. But yeah, you can tell it's very low budget. All their budget went into the costumes. you have this big this council of outer space people, and they've all got these crazy costumes on because it's Power Rangers for an adult audience. It really is R-rated Power Rangers to me. And it's ridiculous. It is one of those ridiculous movies that I think you can turn your brain off and just have a good old time with, and I think you will. I've seen mixed feelings for this movie, but I really enjoyed it for what it was. It's nothing special. I wouldn't say it's a must watch. I'd say watch the trailer. If it looks like it's your cup of tea, then maybe go and check it out. But I had a good time with it, and I would recommend it. Yeah. Next up, I went to my first cinema experience since we unlocked after lockdown, and that was Spiral. Now, Spiral is the 9th film in the Saw franchise. Technically, it's not Saw 9; it is a spin-off. This film I thought it was a really enjoyable police procedural in the Saw universe. Now, did it need to be in the Saw universe? Absolutely not. The one big negative, I got a couple of negatives. One of the big negatives for me is that I feel that the Saw element for Spiral has been tacked on as a secondary thing. Like, this could have been a really cool original story about these killings happening, targeting the police force, and being a really good police procedural as an original story. But they've thrown it in the Saw universe, and it does feel a bit forced. Like I don't know. It feels forced, but like I feel like I still had a really good time in this film. I think this film's a really fun, good time. Chris Rock was fine. I don't think he had very good stuff to work with. I think the another negative of this film suffers from a very poor script. The script is shit, right? The dialogue is awful. The writers couldn't help but make the actors say fuck every 2 minutes. I know I swear a lot. Go and watch this film. You know what I mean by every other word is fuck. It's really weird. But I had a lot of fun with this film. Some people will go like, oh yeah, I'm a big fan of Saw. If I go into this film, will I like it? I think you might like it. I think you will. Because I have a lot of fun with the Saw films, and I really enjoyed this one. I think it's one of the better ones, actually. I know, guys. I know. Shoot me. Anyway, it's a fun movie. I think. As the traps are the usual kind of nasty affair. It's not outright gross out violent in this one as much. There's some brutal bits, there's some nasty elements to it, but I feel that, you know how the torture porn tag has been put on these other movies. I don't think you could put it on this one. I don't really consider this to be torture porn whatsoever, but it does have those elements in there. But what I like about this film is that it's not about trap after trap after trap. They do build a narrative in between showing you the trap moments, which actually is quite a breath of fresh air for the Saw franchise, in my opinion. So I really enjoyed this movie. I thought it was shot well. I thought the cinematography was good. The colour grading was really good. I thought Chris Rock was fine. I don't think he was great. I don't think he was awful. I've heard people say he was awful, but I just think he had a really bad script to work with, and he did. All the actors did what they could do. But like I said, the dialogue is really bad. I don't think the dialogue is believable whatsoever. Throughout the film, I was saying to myself, who talks like this? Nobody talks like this. But yeah, aside from those really kind of petty negatives, I do feel like this film is a really entertaining movie, and I will be getting the Blu-ray. So take that as you will. So yeah, Spiral. I would recommend it, actually. I think it was a good time. Yeah. Next up, we have a fairly brand new movie. Well, it's pretty much brand new. Everybody should know my opinion on this because I've been raving about it since I saw it. Cruella. This was not on my radar whatsoever. Just to put it in perspective, it was not on my radar whatsoever. But I heard some opinions going, oh yeah, it's worth a watch, it's pretty good. I was like, okay, cool, maybe I should watch it. I was not expecting for this film to be as good as it is. This film for me is a full 10 marks. I don't really have a negative for this film. I think it is 10 out of 10. I think it's a perfect movie for me. It is my film of 2021. I think it's absolutely top tier. I think it's top of my list, big time. I just think it's wonderful. I think Emma Stone as Cruella and Estella, I think she's brilliant in this film. I think she hams it up big time, but I think in a role like this you need to ham it up, and I think she's done a wonderful job. Emma Thompson as the Baroness is great. She plays this kind of emotionless kind of just old hag bitch, really, that has no empathy for anything. She plays that really well. I'm not an actor, but I can imagine trying to act where you have no feelings for anything and you're pretty much just stoic and just, emotionless. I think that must be the hardest thing to do, and Emma Thompson really plays that part really well. I just think it's just a great movie. The right hand men that Cruella have, really entertaining, really funny. The comedy really hits. I think the comedy is really good in this film. I just think the whole movie is fucking just charmingly great. The visual design is brilliant. The production design is outstanding. The color grading is beautiful. The cinematography is unbelievably good. And yeah, it's 10 out of 10 film of the year for me. Cruella was absolutely fantastic. And what a great film to end my May viewing with. Like, I couldn't pick a better film to end on, really. And yeah, it is outstanding. Cruella is 10 out of 10, my film of the year. Everyone needs to go and watch it. I think people would like it. I think it's really good. And Cruella 2 has already been pretty much already been confirmed, apparently, by Disney. So that will be interesting to see where they take that, because I genuinely thought it would have gone into 101 Dalmatians, but it looks like it may not be the case. But we'll see, I suppose, in the next year or two. Anyway, that's what I've watched in the month of May. Let me know what you've watched down below, and if you've seen any of these films that I've mentioned in the video. Whatever your opinions are, let me know down below. As always, if you're new to this channel, want to see more, maybe become a subscriber and maybe subscribe. Hit that like button for the YouTube algorithm, because it's the best way not to have Godzilla come and destroy your town. As always, I have been Jason, and I am gonna go and watch some more movies for June. That's right.